We are the plug for producers, the ShowLab Producer Podcast. You dig?
This show has been brought to you by SacredApparel.net. The homie Twink and the crew over there are always coming up with the latest fashions, the tees, the hoodies, and the hats. Right now, they got a store-wide sale going on. Everything 20% off. This would be a great time to pick up a hoodie. Everything 40% off. Regular price $40, now they $25 a hoodie. And the dope thing that I like about Sacred Apparel, they got tees for the big homies. So go check them out, sacredapparel.net, a clothing store for the ladies and gentlemen that choose to live sacred. You dig?
You are listening to the ShowLab Producer Podcast, the podcast that's strictly for producers.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This should be played at high volume.
You ain't got the answers.
Yo, what's good?
Yo,
Hey, yo, what's poppin'? It's your boy Swift.
It's Young Joshua.
This is
Surface.
this your man K-Drama.
This is the Amazing XB, and you're listening to the ShowLab Producer Podcast.
And you're listening to the ShowLab Producer Podcast.
And you're listening to the ShowLab Producer Podcast.
You are now listening to the ShowLab Producer Podcast.
And you're listening to the ShowLab Producer Podcast
With my man Marv.
with my homie Marv. With my homie Marv.
With my man Marv from OB.
I'm Marv from Beats, baby, yeah. You're listening to the ShowLab Producer Podcast, where we talk about nothing but producer stuff. You dig?
Yo, what up? What up? You're listening to the ShowLab Producer Podcast, where we talk about nothing but producer stuff. You dig? I am your boy Marv from Obese, man. How y'all doing? I am good. I have been gone for the last 2 Tuesdays. The first week, my son, he had orientation. He's going to, he's a sophomore, and he's going to UTSA, University of San Antonio, University of Texas in San Antonio this year. So we had a family orientation that first Tuesday that I was out, and then the second Tuesday I was on my family vacation in Mexico. Man, me and my wife were blessed to be able to bring our kids on a cruise. So man, I had to do the family thing, but I am back. I'm glad to be back. We got a great show lined up today. Today we're talking about music licensing, TV placements, getting your music on commercials, the how-to, something that a producer actually is a producer dream. It's definitely one of my goals and dreams. To be able to, get my music played on a commercial or on TV and stuff. So that's what we're talking about. And I'm talking with a gentleman by the name of Josh. Man, I ain't even going to try to pronounce his last name. But my homeboy Josh, man, he is the founder of SpearOfHipHop.com. And he's also the owner of Illect Recordings. So we're going to have him on the show. He managed a lot of producers, and he's he's into the whole TV placing, music licensing. His company, that's what they do, man. So we're going to be talking to him just on, that whole aspect of the business. And hopefully you guys will be able to get some great information from this interview. It's going to be a dope interview. Before we get into it, all that other stuff, man, I got to start off with the scripture. And the scripture is coming from Luke chapter 16, verses 8 through 9 in the Message Bible. And it reads, "Now here's a surprise. The master praised the crooked manager. And why? Because he knew how to look after himself. Streetwise people are smarter in this regard than law-abiding citizens. They are on constant alert looking for angles, surviving by their wits. I want you to be smart in the same way, but for what is right, using every adversity to stimulate you creative survival, to concentrate your attentions on the bare essentials so you will really live, and not complacency, just get by on good behavior. And in the King James Version, Jesus was actually talking to the disciples about how those in the world are more shrewder. The people in the world are more shrewder when it comes to business. And he was saying that that's how we should be. Wise as serpents, but harmless as doves. And, I think the scripture is just fitting for what we're talking about today. You know what I'm saying? Doing this interview, we giving the information, you take the information, and you use it. And I'm telling you, man, this interview is packed. I'm telling you, if you don't get anything out of this interview, or if it don't motivate you to start looking into how to get into that arena, shame on you. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of wisdom and stuff that's packed in this conversation that me and Josh had. And man, basically just understanding the business, you know what I'm saying, is more than just making beats. You know what I'm saying? Understanding the business, understanding how royalties are divvied up, you know what I'm saying? Understanding music licensing and music syncing and all that stuff, man. We have to be about the business aspect as well as making music. So, man, we're just gonna have to be wise. You know what I'm saying? Be wise, be about the business, understanding, reading. Josh even talked about that. He got a couple of books that he even recommend in the interview that producers should pick up. So, hey, man, let's get to the business so we can be able to make some money and take care of families. And again, that scripture was Luke 16, chapter 16, verses 8 through 9. All right. You're listening to the ShowLab Producer Podcast, where we talk about nothing but producer stuff. This podcast has been brought to you by sacredapparel.net. Sacredapparel.net. Twinking them, they got some new gear, some new tees that they just dropped. You got to go check them out. He always got a sale popping off. So go check them out, sacredapparel.net. You're listening to the ShowLab Producer Podcast, where we talk about nothing but producer stuff.
You're listening to the ShowLab Producer Podcast, where we talk about nothing but producer stuff. You dig?
Yes, sir. You listen to the ShowLab Producer Podcast, where we talk about nothing but producer stuff. In producer news, man, tragic. We lost a legendary producer, DJ in the Christian hip hop industry. DJ Official. Real government name is Nelson Chu, also known as DJ Official. For you guys that don't know DJ Official, man, he was the tour DJ. He was the tour DJ for Cross Movement Records for over 8 years, and he left Cross Movement and went and became the tour DJ for Reach Records. If you don't know DJ Official in Christian hip hop, and you're a producer, you go pawn your equipment, throw your laptop outside, and let a car run over it. If you don't know DJ Official, DJ Official is a legend. He's one of the pioneers in Christian hip hop. production and DJ, man. And we lost him on Sunday. He actually was having he had been having problems for the last years with his lungs. He needed a lung transplant, and he was actually in surgery getting the lung transplant, but they had some complications, man, and he didn't make it through. So let's definitely keep DJ Official's family in prayer. You know, right now he had a wife and 2 daughters, so man, you know, I mean, to lose a dad, you know what I'm saying, is, let's just keep his family in prayer, man. We was blessed over at morphomobeats.com to get an interview with Fish about a year ago. You can go check that out over at morphomobeats.com. But yeah, man, salute to the legendary DJ Official. He's definitely probably the DJ up in the gates, up in the clouds, up in the sky, man. So you know, God, he gained the DJ. So just keep his family in prayer, man. And you know, again, man, we eventually we're gonna die. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, and there's nothing that we can do about that, man. And nobody knows what the time and when it's gonna happen, but it's gonna happen. The thing is just making sure that your relationship is good with the Lord Jesus Christ, so you can make it into them gates, man. So brother, he was faithful, you know what I'm saying, even through, you know, going through this whole situation with getting the transplant and stuff, man. You know, he just stayed hopeful, you know what I'm saying, even through his tweets and stuff, you know, and he just felt like he was more, you know, according to his tweet, I mean, seeing what he was tweeting about, man, you know, he was just like, man, I know God got me, and, you know, I'm encouraged and I'm overwhelmed with God's doing in my life, man. So one thing we know for sure, that he ain't got no more suffering, you know what I'm saying. So praise God for the brother. He has put in a lot of work in the Christian hip hop community. So keep his family in prayer. And DJ Official, man, we love you. We hopefully, prayerfully, we'll see you at them gates, you dig? As long as we keep on trying to live for the Lord and do what we supposed to do, man, we'll get up there with you. In a few minutes, we're going to get into this interview. Open up your ears. He that has an ear, let him hear what this interview is talking about. I'm telling you, man, you would not be disappointed with the information that Josh is gonna give up. So we're gonna have that popping off in about 1 minute, and we're gonna get into it. You're listening to the ShowLab Producer Podcast. You dig? Are you working on a project and you're looking for your next banger? Well, check out the team over at SoundHbeats.com. Looking for a variety of production? Well, the homie Ray and the crew over there can take care of all of your musical needs. They got exclusives, leases, and they got a clearance sale over there. Are you an artist on a budget? Well, now they are offering bulk discount prices on their lease beats. So what you waiting on? Head on over to SoundHbeats.com and pick up your banger today. Christian music, all heart. SoundHbeats.com.
We are the plug for producers. The ShowLab Producer Podcast. You dig?
Yes, sir. You're listening to the ShowLab Producer Podcast, man. I am your boy, Morphomo Beats, and we are talking about other opportunities that producers can get into, other ventures that producers can get into outside of, you know, just working with different artists. You know, that's the primary goal, to work with an artist and, you know, make music. But there are other avenues that we can get into to be able to be a means of finances. and residual funds. And this gentleman that I got on the show, there's no better person to talk about this. He owns Illect Records Music, I believe, if it's all of those names wrapped into one. He's a gentleman that works hands-on with producers and real savvy and knowledgeable about this topic that we're talking about. So I would like to welcome my guy Josh to the show. What up, Josh?
Hey man, what's up? Thanks for having
No doubt, man. I'm well, man. How you doing?
me. Good. I just staying busy. The to-do list never ends.
Man, you are a busy dude, bro. Yeah. I remember when I initially hit you up about the interview, you was like, man, look, I won't be available till like June. You know what I'm saying? And here it is, the beginning of August, man. So I appreciate you taking out a few minutes of your time, bro, to just help aspiring producers. And I don't want to just say aspiring producers, established producers for that note, you know what I'm saying, that want to be able to get into, TV and all that stuff, man. But before we get into all that, would you please tell the audience who you are and what you do?
Okay, well, I am Josh. A few friends of mine lovingly refer to me as Suge White. So heavily involved in hip hop music,
right?
So basically, I operate in a couple different facets. My primary occupation, I do PR and radio work, and consultation for different record labels, independent artists. I'm also the founder of sphereofhiphop.com. It's almost 20 years old now.
Wow. Congratulations on that, bruh. I did not know Spear Hip Hop been around almost 20 years, bro.
Yep, so we're the OGs.
Yes.
Get off the lawn type guys. And then finally, I am the GM of a record label called Illect Recordings. We founded 2003. To date, we've released about 120 projects. EPs.
Wow.
The current area of emphasis for us right now is sync licensing, so film, TV, radio, providing the musical background for various projects that people are looking to do.
Mm-hmm. Wow, man, you know, Josh, your plate is full, dog. Your plate is full, brother. How did you get into all this, man? I mean, was it something that you always wanted to do, or did you see a need, or what happened? How did you get into this fashion of the business?
A little bit of all of those things. I mean, I grew up listening to hip hop and, was the head amongst all my friends, and just was really immersed in the music quite a bit. I lived in a more rural area growing up, so I wasn't exposed to, the culture quite as much, but, devoured, Yo MTV Raps and things like that, any time I could get it, and, try to catch shows and stuff like that. So I guess it kind of fell into my lap a little bit, too, as far as business part of it goes.
Right.
I had a class project in college where I had to build a website, and I had a really tough time figuring out, what do I want to make a website about?
Right.
So I was really into Christian hip hop, and, it was, at that point, I mean, this is 96, 97. It was really difficult to find information on artists that you were into, and literally like phone calls and writing letters, to artists to find out if they had new music.
Right.
you know, you just couldn't find it out. So I decided to do that for my class project, and that is what morphed into Sphere of Hip Hop. So we just, you know, built relationships with people and posted that information on the website and kept that up, and have built a really loyal following over the last, you know, 19.
When I think of Sphere Hip Hop, let's, you know, just even from talking about Sphere Hip Hop, man, it was always like this, for the lack of better words, like this magical, or this, it was like this, I don't want to say magical, but it was like this, you knew it was there, but they were so low key. They were so low key, but you know they was making a big impact, bro. Did you realize, or did you ever think that Sphere Hip Hop would turn out to be what it is? You know, you talking about 20 years. Did you ever think it would be what it is as of today?
Not at all. And it's funny too, because you know, I had always prayed that God would use me in a specific way to impact people. And he's done that and then some, 100,000-fold. Like, I mean, I've been able to mentor a lot of artists and help them out as they're coming up, and help a lot of people that have started really big labels, and rub elbows with artists that I grew up listening to, and even had artists from afar, you know, call me up on the phone and say that they really appreciate what I do. And, you know, it just blows my mind all the time, you know. And there's been, the way we've done it has built a deep amount of respect for the method at how we've approached people, how we've treated people. So hopefully it's inspired other people to do things. And now there's like 100 other websites, you know, kind of doing what we do. So, which I guess imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. But yeah, it's plenty cool. I mean, I still marvel at it when I think about it. Although I try not to dwell on it too much because it's really distracting.
Yeah. I get you. But man, you know, I look at things like that, bro. That is a confirmation of knowing that what God has set out for you to do is not in vain. You know, as a producer, having a website, that's for producers, and even a podcast, you know, sometimes, man, you feel like, man, what am I doing all this in vain? But then when somebody hits you up out the blue and be like, yo, man, like what you're doing is really impact me as a musician or whatever, man, it just lets me, it lets me know that God's hand and his grace is still upon me on what I'm doing, man. So that's a good thing, bro, to see that, you know, you're still thriving after 20 years and a pillar in this Christian hip hop genre, bro. So definitely hats off to you, my man, for real.
Yeah, thanks.
No doubt, bro. Music licensing. Well, let's not start there. Let's talk about some other avenues that producers can get into, man. A producer dream is to work with artists, you know what I'm saying, and get their music heard on the radio or on CDs and stuff. But then after that, you know, some producers are cool with just staying there, but then you have a lot of producers, man, that are looking to venture off into, you know, TV placements, you know, commercials and stuff, you know. Shout out to my guy T. Wilder, man. I was so happy to hear, you know, a joint that he did, you know, on a Sprint commercial, and I knew you definitely had a major part to play in that. So hats off to you, you know, help giving that opportunity, man. But, you know, what is your take on producers getting into other avenues? And I guess to put it in a question form, how do a producer get into these different arenas and stuff? Because when you're trying to get into TV and stuff, man, it's almost like you got to know somebody that's in it. You know, you being a gentleman that's familiar with that territory, man, how possible is it for a producer to get into it, and what should he do?
It's not easy, and it does require a certain amount of luck. For us in our situation, I made a very specific set of goals on what we wanted to do, and just went for it. And really, if I'm being completely honest, they were goals that were probably realistically out of reach, but I wanted to go for it anyway, just because I believed in where we were taking things in general. As far as like things producers can do, really anything you can do to create value for other people is always a good look, like what you're doing with your podcast, and providing valuable information, because that attracts other producers, that attracts other people that are decision makers and taste makers. Really like a service-minded kind of vision and heart behind what you do.
Right.
Takes care of a lot of those intangible things that it's not like you can just be like, well, here's a directory of people. Let me just call the first person on this list.
Right.
it just doesn't work like that.
Right.
And then something, probably one of the biggest components to it is professionalism. And I know that's a difficult thing for artists and producers to sometimes fully wrap their minds around, because it's not easy. I mean, you're an artist. Your job is to create,
right,
and not necessarily answer emails and jump on phone calls and be super quick with things. Like, good art takes time. Like, I get that.
Right.
So that's what somebody like me can bring to the table. So one of the things a producer could do is seek out someone that will either teach them or mentor them over the long term, or basically take that work on for them, so all you have to do is just create. So what we've done with Illect, as far as our sync licensing, is we've set it up to where the producer is isolated as much as possible from the business part of things, so it's not distracting. They can create freely, and just be inspired to do anything. Because like the Sprint commercial, is the sound of that song is well outside of the scope of what we would normally release as a label.
Right.
But we have a well-rounded enough team and an open-minded enough team that's willing to tackle something for a potential client that they would like. And all these guys have been around the block long enough to know what works and what doesn't. So we've set it up in a way to where all these guys can play up to their strengths. And we move as a unit, but also can move individually, where I know, like, if, for example, Nike's working on a commercial and they want something very specific, I know immediately who on our team is going to be best suited for that we can be like, hey man, we've got something, going on, and they want it in 18 hours. Here's what we've got. Here's a couple references. Can you do it? A quick note about that and like our scheduling is we make it very apparent to all of our team that family matters first, and
right,
none of this stuff is worth like making your wife mad or not going to your kids' games or whatever. And it's really taken a lot of that stress and a lot of that pressure out of the equation, and again, returning these guys to be free to be great at what they're great at. And then I can super easy, because the business side of things and the admin side of things are really easy for me. But like, if you put an MPC in front of me, it would take me 3 weeks to learn how to use it and make a beat.
Right.
So it's really good. It's a good thing to link up with people that are going to complement you in ways that maybe you're lacking, so you can be, essentially 1 + 1 = 3.
Right.
Your output together is greater than your output individually. We actually work with a large agency out of LA, and they bring us opportunities, and then we create new custom music to fit what each of the brands are looking for. In addition, we might pull something from our library that would closely fit what they want, and or customize something that we maybe have already done that would make it fit even better. It's been really cool. We've landed a couple, major placements. The Sprint commercial being the biggest. Apparently, it's the number 4 commercial in the entire country right now. In terms of
wow, that is crazy.
It's everywhere. It's on ESPN all the time. We've seen it on MTV. It played the first time we heard it was during Game 1 of the NBA Finals.
Right.
It's all over. I heard it on the radio during the Jim Rome show a week ago. We've heard it in shoe stores. We've seen it in restaurants, like sports bars, and all over the place. So we kind of feel like it's stalking us because we keep going to places and running into it, but that's cool. So
yeah, definitely.
So there's residual income off of sync licensing. So
yes, sir.
Outside of just the upfront money that they're like, hey, we'll pay you X number of dollars to do this for us. You get if a company uses it and they decide they want to take it for a wider than agreed upon use, like maybe they just want to put it in their film, but I do DVDs. Well, DVDs wasn't part of the original deal, so that expands it, so you get a little bit more of that upfront money. Any broadcast mediums like television, radio, anytime your stuff gets played, you're going to get that publishing money.
Yes, sir.
Which is really nice. So T. Wyla is going to do really well off of this. Because it's not just playing on TV, it's playing on the biggest networks and the biggest shows on those networks, and it's all over the radio.
I'm so happy, dog. I'm happy because to see us as believers, you know what I'm saying? And I don't want to just say as believers, more because we're believers, but just, people, man, really working on a professional level. I think, for a long time there was a lack in Christian hip hop, man, but it just amazes me how, the different opportunities and stuff that we're being able to encounter, bro. It is such a blessing to hear, man. And when I initially heard about T. Wyla with the commercial, and when I had him on the podcast, he said, "I got some things in the works. I just can't say nothing about it." And he kept that mug on tuck. But when I seen it posted on social media, man, I was so happy, dog, because me and T. Wyla been friends for a long time, and it was just a blessing, and I was just so overwhelmed to see that now, man, the things are really starting to take off for him, bro. Real quick, Josh, before we get out of here, man, what would you recommend for a producer to do? Well, let me say this: is it possible for a producer to, even get in without somebody working in that field, man? I mean, or what would you recommend? You know what I'm saying? Because I want to, I want people to, I want the listeners to be able to go away and say, okay, well, it's possible. It's possible that I can maybe acquire, to even work with Josh, man. What would you recommend for a producer to do getting into that business?
You have to be willing to put in a lot of time and a lot of work. What really swings the pendulum in your favor is going to be catalog and having just a lot of material, but not just, numbers, but actually a lot of really great material, and being able to sort that out and not, not be afraid to hear, negative or critical feedback about your stuff. And, there are a lot of major companies that are surprisingly open to hearing new music. So having a good catalog is paramount. And then I would read up. There is a book. I can't read it from here. It's all the way across my office. But there's this book that I recommend. It's called The Plain and Simple Guide to Music Publishing. And it does talk a little bit about sync licensing, but music publishing is kind of a underemphasized thing, I think, for a lot of producers, unless you're in, major situations and you're dealing with major label placements and stuff like that. But there's a lot of residual income there. Some other tips are going to be, once you have that catalog, look around to see if there's any, there are spots on the web that are called click licensing agency. And essentially you would enter into an agreement with them and then give them a certain number of tracks to put into their library. And then companies come to them and look at their website, and they're looking for, maybe they're looking for an 80s, old school kind of b-boy sounding track, and they just enter the search keywords, a bunch of tracks pop up, they listen to all of them, they pick one that they like, they click all the buttons, they pay, they fill out the paperwork, and then you get money, in 1 to 4 months. It's a pretty cool setup. They do screen the music, so it's not like anybody can, usually just jump up on there and upload a bunch of songs like it's mp3.com and, be in business, because they obviously don't want their prospective, companies brand clients to be sifting through a bunch of junk.
Right.
So there's a little bit of a hoop to jump through, but like for you would have no problem. You would get approved right away, and you could send them tracks. There's going to be a small window of exclusivity where anything you give to them, you couldn't do anything else with necessarily. And that's kind of a loaded statement. There's a couple different wrinkles. Like this song we did for Sprint, the way our deal situation is, because we made so much up front, the licensing agency acquires 100% of the master publishing, and we still get all the writers and stuff as normal. And it's a logistical thing too. 100% ownership shouldn't be super scary. I've done my homework, and if we could command a better deal, we would certainly have asked for one. But that's kind of how things are. Unless you have a dedicated team at your company, just sync license and all. That's the only way you can get around that. So basically, companies just go there and they look on their website, find something they like. It's really cool that way, because the money turns a lot faster. The opportunities are going to probably be a little smaller, but that's a great place to start with click licensing. It gets your stuff out there. I mean, I'll be honest, we lucked into the agency that we use out of L.A. I ran into them at South by Southwest a couple of years ago and asked a bunch of apparently smart questions, and they were impressed, so we started talking more, and they invited us on board, and we started sending stuff, and now we're getting actual placements and actual money, and so it's pretty cool. So that, don't be afraid to start small. You got to start somewhere, and the more prolific you are with the quantity of stuff, the more likely you are, to get placements. And then also another great tip is really put your sync licensing hat on, and anytime you hear music, like, really think about it. Like, what was that producer trying to do, and why did Nike use this song, and like, how does it make you feel, and the different movements within the music, and all of that stuff. And it kind of opens up a lot of new ideas for different approaches you can take with your creative aspects.
Wow, man, that's a lot of nuggets that you just dropped on us, bro. And and it's so refreshing. And it gives it. I'm hoping and praying that it gives the listener, the confidence to say, hey, you know what, I can do this, man. This is the information that we just don't know of, bro. So you definitely have dropped some gems on us, man. Josh, I appreciate you coming on the show, dog. For real. I could go on. I could go on about another 20, 30 minutes, man, but time is not going to allow us, man, because there's just so much other stuff that just come to mind, bro. But man, I appreciate you, just taking the time out, and dropping that information. I think a lot of times, producers, and I honestly say myself, bro, it's been beneficial to me too, because I'm gonna go check out that website, the different click websites, man, because I just didn't know, what I'm saying, and they got a lot of other producers just like me that just don't know, man, and I try to be very knowledgeable and do a lot of reading, man, but just to be able to hear that information is just a blessing, dog. So I appreciate you, taking the time out and sitting with us, bro, and dropping that on us, bro, for real.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to do it again, assuming we can find a time that works for us both.
Yeah, man. Well, Josh, I'm going to get up out of here, bro. You've been listening to the ShowLab Producer Podcast, where we talk about nothing but producer stuff. You dig?
We are the plug for producers. The ShowLab Producer Podcast. You dig?
This show has been brought to you by SacredApparel.net. The homie Twink and the crew over there are always coming up with the latest fashions, the tees, the hoodies, and the hats. Right now, they got a store-wide sale going on. Everything 20% off. This would be a great time to pick up a hoodie. Everything 40% off. Regular price $40, now they $25 a hoodie. And the dope thing that I like about Sacred Apparel, they got tees for the big homies. So go check them out, sacredapparel.net, a clothing store for the ladies and gentlemen that choose to live sacred. You dig?
We are the plug for producers, the ShowLab Producer Podcast. You dig?
Yes, sir. You're listening to the ShowLab Producer Podcast. I am your boy, Marfamo Beats. I hope you enjoyed that interview, man. I'd like to again say thank you to my man Josh for coming on the show. Dropping that science, dropping that good news, that good information, some great information on just how to get into that whole arena of music syncing, licensing, music syncing, and television placements and stuff. Just a whole bunch of good information in there, man. I hope you guys really enjoyed that. Great interview. Great interview. And if there ain't nothing else, I ain't got nothing else, man. We gonna hurry up and get on out of here. Time is ticking. And we'll be back next week, Lord's willing. Until next Tuesday, may God bless you guys. Love y'all. Keep making that good music. Keep learning, reading, everything that can help you be a shrewd businessman. Wise as a serpent, but harmless as a dove. This is your boy Mark from Beats, and you've been listening to the ShowLab Producer Podcast, where we talk about nothing but producer stuff. Yeah, dig.
You are listening to the ShowLab Producer Podcast, the podcast that's strictly for producers.